My name is Amaka. I'm the Associate Director in charge of MBA admissions at IESE Business School. I cover currently Africa and UK and Ireland. I'm also an alum of the program. I finished from 2020, so the MBA class of 2020, what I usually like to call the COVID class. That's when I graduated. And before the MBA, I was working for an oil and gas firm, Schlumberger. I started my career in Nigeria. I moved around mainly in West and Central Africa. Spent a lot of time also in the US and in Abu Dhabi before I decided to do the MBA. And since the MBA, I've worked a bit in consulting and now working with the admissions team in Barcelona. The ideal MBA candidate for IESE is the candidate that has passed what I call our two-layer check. Okay, so first is the very basic checks that every school will have on people applying to the program. So what are your academic track record, BSc, MSc, how have you fared through that, and also your professional track record, okay, achievements, developments, and things that you have learned working. Now, the second layer then is the alignment with the IESE values, okay? It's very important to us that we attract people that understand what we are about, that we are a mission-oriented school, and they key into that. So it's not sufficient to just have a great GMAT, a great GRE, and then working in a big name company, but you don't think that the things that we think important are important. So having people that are aligned with the IESE values of professional excellence and integrity and a spirit of service is something that we care very much about. And you'll find that tested in the essay questions that you're going to be asked, the video essay that you're going to do, and also the interview is going to be understanding who are you, what are your values, what's the alignment with IESE. And then in addition to that, the other things that we'll be looking out for is your multicultural awareness. We have a class that is very, very diverse. If you have people coming from more than 60 national countries, then it's important to know that people know how to relate with people, other people from other countries, what to expect, how to respond, how to communicate with them. And then, of course, there's always going to be that open-mindedness that we want to, because you are coming to a place to experience people from very different professional and cultural backgrounds. So being open-minded to what you're going to be getting in the program is very important to us. And of course, always having that desire to make impact. If you look at our mission and statements, it's always about developing leaders that have a desire to make an impact in the world. And it's not all just fluff. I know every school has something fantastic that they have to say about that leadership, but this is something that is very, very ingrained in every aspect of IESE, that making sure that people care about helping other people, helping the world, helping make an impact in their society, in their organizations. One way you can always test that we are true to what we say we are is when you speak to alumni of the program. When people connect with our alumni, they always get back the same messages that we have on our website. So that means the school has done a good job of inculcating these values and into the people that come to the program. Okay, so the ideal candidate is that candidate that is himself or herself, or at least the best version of him or herself, but also that has all these other alignments with our values. We teach using the case study method, which is something that people will see regularly in many of the videos or interviews that you will host with IESE. And that is a peer-to-peer based type of learning, very interactive, where you're drawing from the experiences of your classmates that are coming from very professional, different professional and cultural backgrounds. Now, this was a method that was developed by Harvard, and IESE had also adopted it because we were set up in collaboration with Harvard at the time that IESE was instituted in the 1950s. Now, what actually brings a case study method class to life is the diversity that you have in class. When you're able to hear from people from different parts of the world and from very different professional backgrounds on how business is done and how it's done in their sector or in their region, it gives a breadth and depth to the conversation that you would never get when you have just one particular or a very narrow subset. And so when it comes to what we are looking for, it's everything, because that's what gives that breadth. to the conversation. Having a class full of people from just finance or consulting doesn't quite add much, but when you throw in someone with an entrepreneurial background, or throw in someone from medical field, or someone, a veteran, then the conversation gets very interesting. Then you can see how things that are seemingly unrelated can actually come together to give you new insights and new perspectives, which is something you always want from every MBA program. It's always great to have people that have managed a team before, people that have worked with other people, but then it's not the only thing we are looking for, okay? I think what makes for a great learning experience coming to IESE, one thing that we try to deliver is creating good leaders, okay? And having what I'll call the ingredients that makes for a good leader is what we are looking for, much more than having an already formed leadership attributes. And so what would those things be? It would be an openness to learning, and having good cultural or multicultural awareness, understanding the very multifaceted aspects of leadership. Now, I say that because leadership is something that has evolved over the years. It's come from having just formal authority over a team to now being more about having influence, even when you don't have a title. Okay, so understanding that leadership evolves and that in different contexts, you're going to have very different leadership styles. So knowing how to adapt and adjust to the environment that you're in is something that having an openness to learning gives you. So those are the ingredients that makes for taking in the leadership learnings that you'll be exposed to at IESE. Okay, so that said, the core things that we are looking out for is, have you worked before in a team before? How do you fare in that team? How do you make your voice heard? So how much influence, or how self-aware are you, and how culturally aware are you? If you're going to be coming to IESE in a school with more than 65 nationalities represented, and it's important that you know how to understand and read the room, understand the people that you're working with, and also how they communicate, and know how to communicate with them. Okay, so leadership qualities that you should be looking out for is that openness. What we create, what we give you, what we deliver at the end of the program will be more about harnessing your decision-making skills and your problem-solving and critical thinking skills. We have that case study method style of learning, but how that is effected is that you're going to be put in teams of about 8 to 9 persons, and every day you're going to get a series of cases that you're going to read and bringing your own insights, understanding to that case, and you're going to discuss this with your team of about 8 other persons that are going to be complementing you, because they're coming from different cultures and different professional backgrounds as you. Now, with what you get from your team, you take it to an even wider audience in the class, the sections that you're part of, and you drill deeper into the conversation. The professor is not really just a lecturer or teacher standing in front of the class delivering like a lecture to you. You and your classmates are going to be leading the conversation and learning from each other, with the professor just facilitating the conversation, making sure that the core concepts that he wants to touch on are being talked about. The team formation that we have at IESE is a very, very key element in helping you develop your leadership skills. Because it's one thing to go read a case and figure out this is the direction we should take, this is what I think that we should do. It's another thing to know how to present it to your team, like, this is what I got out of this case. So that feedback process, being able to learn from other people, to take feedback from them, being able to provide your own insights in a clear and a persuasive manner. Okay, so communication skills, understanding, giving and taking constructive feedback, decision making, problem solving, critical thinking, because people are going to challenge your ideas. These are the core things that help you to develop the leadership qualities. And then you also have the mentoring process that happens at IESE, where you're going to be mentored by a professor, your team, you have a team mentor that is assigned to your team, and you're going to be mentored by the second years when you're in the first year. So learning how they did things and improving on whatever the process that they faced went through. And then by the time you get into the second year, being a mentor to a younger team, to the first year team. So there's going to be the horizontal learning from your teammates where you don't have a formal title. There's going to be the learning when you are mentoring a younger team as a second year student. There's also going to be the learning when you're being mentored by the professors and then the second year students. And that all round shapes your perspective, your leadership potentials and skills. We do have several resources for to support people in the MBA journey, because the MBA is a very costly investment. Usually people come to the program with a combination of their personal savings and loans and also scholarship. So people that do want to be assisted, first is to apply on time. So the scholarship budget is like a cookie jar. It's full at the very beginning of the rounds. By the time you go down the round, from round 1 to round 2, it's just starts going, getting depleted. So whatever is left of the next round is what was left out of the previous round. So if you don't apply in round 1 or round 2, it becomes a lot more difficult to access scholarship in round 3 and 4 and the later rounds. Okay, and then the other thing is to explore other opportunities. So there are certain countries or regions that would actually get something from the government. We don't have this published on the website, but if you get in touch with an admissions personnel, we can always point to you, tell you, okay, you can, these are the things that we have currently in collaboration with your region. Okay, I know, for instance, for Africa, there's a TY Danjuma scholarship that schools that are on top 10 rankings can access, but we don't have that on the website. But this is information I'll provide when I speak to candidates from the region. And then the other thing is to understand what it is, our scholarship criteria. So our scholarship disbursement is based on need and merit. Okay, so sometimes you find people unlocking both from both buckets, and sometimes it's just one. Need would usually be leaning more on a macro level, where you come from, what's the economic situation. So countries that are from the emerging markets will tend to unlock a lot more from this bucket. But also there's a merit one, because we want to have outstanding professionals in our MBA. So this is where you want to highlight your professional achievements. How have you grown in your company? What are the things you have learned? How have you stood out amongst your peers? So making sure you highlight it in your essays, in your scholarship application, helps to make it more viable, like possible for you to get financial aid. There's always an advantage and a disadvantage to having like MBA class profiles online, because when you look at the profile, you see the people average years of experience is this, and average GMAT is this, or average year is this, and people start already trying to see where they fit in. So it's good to look at those, but I would also recommend always contacting the admissions office to check where you lie. We have this a tool where we have a feedback on profile, where people can request for them to have a one-to-one conversation with the associate director to be advised on whether they fit in or not. Now, for people that are younger applicants, I would say, what is young? So for our MBA, we usually go with a range of 3 to 10 years of work experience. If you have less than 3 years of work experience, but you're really keen on starting the MBA right now, you should speak to the admissions officer, and then we'll see where exactly you lie, or you probably fit more into the young talent program that we have. If you have much more than the 10 years that we have, then also we could see whether maybe an executive program might be better, or there's still a good fit with our MBA program. So don't box yourself out without having had a chat with the admissions officer. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, if you're like with 3 years of work experience, but you still feel like you haven't gotten everything that you need to apply to an MBA, it would be good to spend some time speaking to people that have done the program, or also reading more about the MBA, getting more business savviness or understanding to actually identify the skills that you have that will be relevant or that for the MBA. Okay. The thing about years of experience, when we count the years in numbers, is that it doesn't quite apply so much now, where you have endless access to resources. So even with just 3 years of work experience, if you've been diligent and working online, doing pro bono services, you might actually have accumulated more experience than someone that has 5 years, like calendar years of work experience. So it's always good to do that self-reflection, understand what skill sets do you have, how relevant are they to the program, but ultimately also speak to the admissions person to see where they really see you, that you fit into their program. We are a business school that cater to people right from their undergrad, once they finish their undergrad, all the way to C-suite. Okay, so we have programs for people at the different parts of the journey, where they are in their journey. So we have the Masters in Management, which is for people for 0 to 2 years of work experience. And then we have the MBA, which is for people from 3 to 10 years of work experience. So you have that gap for people with 2 to 3 years. They're more than 2, but they're not exactly 3. So what happens to them? That's how we develop the Young Talent Program. And it's for people that really want to do the MBA, want to already get started and learning about what the business school could offer them, but they're still not ready, they're too young. And it's a boot camp. There's a selection process. It's sort of a pre-MBA admission that they go through. And then when they are selected, they are invited to join, they have a pre-admission to the MBA. They come on campus. We have a boot camp where they go through like a typical class at IESE. There are a lot of resources that we expose them to. And then we sort of bring them into the IESE family, and then we put them on a journey. They can attend some of our conferences and events. They get in touch with our alumni. We actually have some of them that will be coming on campus sometime. We're inviting them to the global alumni reunion that we are having this year. So keeping them engaged and as part of the IESE family until they have the requisite work experience that we require from them to do the full-time MBA. So usually they have a pre-MBA admission up to 4 years from when they do the YTD. And more information on that is always on the website. Just Google the Young Talent Program.